الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Kitab az-Zuhd, Riyadh as-Saaleheen. Imam al-Nawawi brings a number of hadith in talking about Zuhd, and in these ahadith, rahimahullah, he collects for us 4 or 5 ahadith talking about the transience of the life of this dunya. Doesn't matter how much you have. Imagine if you have the whole dunya and everything that it contains, it still doesn't mean anything. On the authority of Anas bin Malik, the Messenger of Allah said, Allahumma la aisha illa aish al-akhirah. Muttafaqun alayh, Bukhari and Muslim. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there is no life except for the life of the akhirah. And this comes in a context where the Messenger of Allah sallallahu is covered with dust and perhaps mud. He says this twice that we know of in his life, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Once when he was building Masjid al-Nabawi, he could have easily have just sat on the side and told the companions, you build it yourselves, let me know when it's done. But he was pricking up the bricks himself, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was helping down, cut the trees, and bringing it all together to the masjid. The second time that we know that he said this was when he was digging the trench, covered in dust, head to toe. Allahumma la aisha illa aish al-akhirah. So whilst in this state, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is saying and he's reminding those who can hear him, there is no life except for the life of the akhirah. Messenger of Allah ﷺ went through a lot of toil and sabr and difficulties, and in the state of him covered with earth, he reminds himself of the akhirah. Also from Anas bin Malik, that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, يَتْبَعُ الْمَيِّتِ ثَلَاثَةً. Every single one of us are going to die. And when you die, 3 things will follow you. This is the conclusion of your life. أهله وَمَالُهُ وَعَمَلُهُ. What else do you have in your life? You've got wealth, you've got family, and you've got your deeds. There's nothing else. Everything is included in these 3 words from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he says, when you die, all these 3 things will follow you. Your family will be there, inshallah. Your wealth will be discussed. فَيَرْجَعْ إِثْنَانِ وَيَبْقَى وَاحِدٌ. 2 things will carry on and 1 thing will remain. You are in your grave, your family will leave you. They will carry on with their lives. Your wealth doesn't belong to you anymore. It's dispersed to the heirs. So what do you have left? Wallahi, even if your family tried to help you whilst you were in the grave, they will not be able to do so. Wallahi, if you had all of your bank account with you in your grave, trying to give you some kind of bliss, it will not benefit you. He says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, these 2 things will return, وَيَبْقَى وَاحِدٌ. He says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family and his wealth will return, وَيَبْقَى عَمَلُهُ. That will be with him in his grave permanently until he enters his final abode, will be his deeds. Also from Anas bin Malik, this is Muttafaqun alayh, Bukhari and Muslim also. Also from Anas bin Malik. Now this is a hadith Sahih Muslim. On the day of judgment, يُؤْتَى بِأَنْأَمِ أَهْلِ الدُّنْيَا مِنْ أَهْلِ النَّارِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. يُؤْتَى بِأَنْأَمِ أَهْلِ الدُّنْيَا مِنْ أَهْلِ النَّارِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. On the day of judgment, the person who had it all, Shaykh Muhammad Uthaymeen rahimahullah is saying here, this person had everything from the dunya. He had money, he had women, he had cars, he had houses, he had businesses, he had clothes, he had everything. This person will be brought Yawm al-Qiyamah, and he will be dipped into the hellfire, just with 1 dipping. He won't be placed in the hellfire, it will just be dipped so that he can see the hellfire. That's it. And then he will be taken out. ثم يقال, then it will be said to him, يا ابن آدم, O man here, هل رأيت خيرا قط? Have you ever seen anything which is good? هل مر بك نعيم قط? Have you ever experienced any kind of favor, any kind of luxury, any kind of happiness? He will say, لا والله يا رب. By Allah, my Lord, I have never experienced anything. I have witnessed nothing. Is he lying? The Shaykh is saying, no, he is not lying. He is speaking the truth. The reason why is because he will forget everything. When he sees the fire, it is as if he has not experienced anything. ويؤتى بأشد الناس بؤسا في الدنيا من أهل الجنة. A person who was trialed a lot, on the day of judgment he will be brought and he will be placed into Jannah, and it will be said to this person, Ya ibn Adam, have you ever experienced any kind of difficulty in your life? He will say the same thing, La wallah ma marra bi bu'san qat. I've never experienced any kind of difficulty in my life. Wala ra'aytu shidda. I've never experienced any kind of difficulty at all. Shaykh Muhammad is saying here, this person who will forget everything, هذا هو شيء يسير. This is just a dip. So how about a person, فكيف بمن يكون مخلدا فيها وإياذ بالله أبد الآبدين, for a person who's going to remain in the hellfire forever. He is placed into the hellfire and he says, I've never seen anything good. He's placed into Jannah, he says, I've never experienced anything bad. Sahih Muslim. Another hadith from the Messenger of Allah also in Muslim. Mad dunya fil akhirah, the example of the dunya compared to the akhirah, illa mithlu ma yaj'al ahadukum usbu' fil yam. Get your finger and put it into the sea. فَلْيَنْظُرْ بِمَا يَرْجِعُ. Then look at what you have brought out from the sea. Look what is there on the tip of your finger. The example is that what is there from that drop is the example in life of this dunya. As for the sea, that is the example of the akhirah. Shaykh Muhammad Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he is saying here that the similitude here is two things. Number one, the drop is restricted. So all of the good things that you think that you can see in the life of this dunya, all of the luxuries and the attractiveness and the pleasures, etc., is still restricted into that one little drop. As for the akhirah, it's a whole different world of luxuries and bliss that we can't even imagine. But what happens to the drop? The second similitude here is that the drop will eventually evaporate and it will cease to exist. As for the sea will remain, wave after wave, renewing itself. Sahih Muslim. Also in Sahih Muslim, authority of Jabir, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one day he was walking in the marketplace and he sees a dead animal on the side. Similar to what we have as a roadkill. Similar to what we can see, we're just walking down the street, you see litter on the side, all that kind of stuff. It's just the same sort of thing. The Messenger of Allah is walking through the marketplace and he sees an animal that has been discarded because it was weak and it has died naturally. So he picks out his ear, the animal's ear. فَأَخَذَ بِأُذُنِهِ. He takes his ear. And he says to people in the marketplace, أَيُّكُمْ يُحِبُّ أَن يَكُونَ هَذَا لَهُ بِدِرْهَمٍ. Anyone would like to buy this for a dirham. What's a dirham? Dirham now is roughly around 3-4 pounds. Who would like to buy an animal which is probably worth about 150, 160, today's equivalent, when it is healthy and alive, for 2-3 pounds? So they said to him, Ya Rasulullah, we wouldn't want this animal even if it was alive, let alone when it is dead. Because it is an animal that has died because of malnutrition. It's not good to anyone when it was alive, and that's how it's died. It's died by itself. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "For wallahi, by Allah, للدنيا أهون Allah min هذا عليكم." swears by Allah, and he says that the dunya is even more insignificant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than this animal is to you. Shaykh Muhammad, he says, فَهَذَا, this is an example of how the life of this dunya doesn't mean anything. How the life of this dunya is belittled with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you had it at its prime, it still wouldn't benefit you. So how about when it becomes a carcass? وَمَعَ ذَلِكَ, Shaykh Muhammad is saying here, that based on all of these ahadith that you've just heard today, whoever does an action for his akhirah, this person is truly successful in the life of this dunya and the akhirah. However, if a person is tricked and falls and is deceived by its fitna and its temporariness, then that person, not only will he lose the dunya that he feels that he is trying to attain, but he will lose the akhirah as well. And he says, rahimahullah, Shaykh Muhammad, this is the case of most of Ibn Adam. How do we know this? وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. What is causing their loss? They are trying to chase something which is just dust, as he says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They are trying to chase something which will return back after they have been buried. They are trying to chase something which is on the tip of your finger when the sea remains. They are trying to chase something that in the akhirah they would have forgotten even if they had attained all of it. بِأَنَّ أَهْلِ الدُّنْيَا, had this person had attained all of the dunya, he'll forget it even just with one dip into the hellfire. They are trying to chase something which is belittled with Allah and doesn't mean anything with Him, subhanah. If it doesn't mean anything with Him, then such people will never be successful. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes the akhirah firm between our eyes and a means of sincerity in our hearts. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.